This is a demo for practice 8A, which test? So the problems you're going to see on practice 8A invite you to decide which statistical test to use to solve a problem. Whether you use a z-test, a one-sample t-test, a paired samples t-test, or an independent samples t-test. So here's a little flowchart you can follow to help make your decision. So first, decide, is there one sample or two, one group of individuals or two separate groups of individuals? And if it's one sample, one group of individuals, follow this upward trajectory. And in this case, you will next ask yourself, is there one score per individual? Or does each individual have two scores, like a before and an after score? And so if it's one score per individual, you'll want to come over and offer this next set of questions. Is the comparison distribution have a known mean and a known standard deviation? Or does the comparison distribution have a known mean, but you don't know the standard deviation? So if it's the former, if the mean and standard deviation are known, you're doing a z-test. If it's the latter, you know the mean, but you don't know the standard deviation, you're going to do a one-sample t-test. If you're finding two scores for individual, like in this example, these before-after scores, you're going to do a paired samples t-test. If you have two samples, two separate groups of individuals, you're going to ask yourself, is each individual paired with one particular individual in the other sample, or are they unpaired? Each individual in one group has no particular match in the other group. And if you find that they're paired, once again, you're going to do a paired samples t-test. And this might be if you had a situation with a mother and a daughter, or husbands and wives, or some situation where the problem tells you that the individuals are matched on some key criteria. But the situations where you're using the paired samples t-test are when they're either two scores for individual or matched pairs. If they're unpaired, that is, they're two separate groups, maybe they even have different numbers in each group, and as far as you can tell, there is no relationship between the two groups, then you're doing an independent samples t-test. Let's do some examples on the next slide. So here we'll be doing some problems such as those you'll be seeing in your practice quiz. So a researcher randomly assigns a group of 25 unemployed workers to receive a new job skills program and 24 other workers to receive the standard job skills program, and then measures how well they all do on a job skills test. So we can see right away that we have two groups. We have the 25 unemployed workers and 24 other workers. We have two different ends, and we don't see anything in here that suggests that each worker in this condition is linked to a worker in this condition. So we would then follow the lowest path on our flowchart and conclude that this is an independent t-test or an independent samples t-test. Number 2, a researcher measures self-esteem in 21 students before and after taking a difficult exam. Here I can see that we have one sample, but we have two scores for each student. We have their before and their after scores. So in this case, we're going to follow a paired samples t-test. One sample, but two data points per individual. Number 3, a researcher tests reaction time of each member of a group of 14 individuals twice. Once while in a very hot room and once while in a normal temperature room. So here I can see we have one group of 14 individuals, but we have two measures, once while in a hot room and once while in a normal temperature room. So here again, one sample, but two data points per individual. This is a paired samples t-test. A researcher compares the number of potholes on Navajo Nation roadways in 2023 with the number of potholes on Navajo Nation roadways in general. Mu is known, sigma is unknown. So here we have one sample, potholes on and roadways in 2023. We're comparing it with potholes in general. Mu is known and sigma is unknown. So this means that we're doing a one sample t-test. One sample, but we don't know the standard deviation of the comparison population. Finally, number 5, Dr. Barsa compares liking for video games between teenage boys and teenage girls. Here I can see we have two groups of individuals, teenage boys and teenage girls. Nothing in the problem suggests that each teenage boy is connected in some way to one of the teenage girls. They're not paired, they're not matched. These two groups are completely independent, and so we have an independent t-test or an independent samples t-test.